This is Talkin' Mule Deer with your hosts Steve Belinda and Jody Stemler. Talkin' Mule Deer takes you on a journey to learn more about the Mule Deer Foundation, mule deer and black-tailed deer biology and management, tips and tactics for hunting, conservation issues, and even features some of our corporate and celebrity partners. Now, let's start talking mule deer. I'm Jody Stemler. I'm here at the Western Hunting and Conservation Expo.
And I'm Steve Belinda, and we're having the distinct pleasure to talk to Jason Matzinger. How are you doing, Jason?
Welcome.
Yeah, appreciate you guys having me here. The end of the, I guess it'd be the first day of exhibiting.
It's been a long day already.
Yeah. It has been. It feels like.
That's a good thing, though.
Yeah.
I noticed, with the little time I've seen you around, you're always someone's picking your ear. You must be a pretty popular guy in a place like this. So.
Well, it is, this is my group of people, I guess, if there is one.
My herd.
Yeah, exactly. These are, it's Western hunters and mule deer fanatics, elk fanatics, sheep fanatics, all Western hunting fanatics are in this room, and that's what I do. I mean, I love to create films that appeal to the Western audience more than the whitetail people.
So let's start with, how did you get your start? I mean, why did you want to start getting into film production and making good production about hunting and Western hunting and big game?
I guess to sum it up quickly, I grew up watching Marty Stauffer and Gordon Eastman. They were my idols, and they really, I think, were most people in this room.
As we were talking earlier, the Wenzel brothers.
Yeah, the Wenzel brothers.
Yeah.
The real trailblazers of this industry. I mean, I was inspired by them, and I've always been a student of this industry and hunting, and I just kind of watched it go from something that was really cool to watch on TV to all about killing big animals and all about stroking somebody's ego, and I just didn't feel like that told our story very well as hunters. And so in high school, growing up and hunting with my dad and my friends, I just saw these opportunities that if I just had a camera in my hands, I felt like I could tell our story better as hunters than what had currently been on TV. And so I just really, that's the bottom line of everything I do, is I just want to tell our story better as hunters and conservationists, because I don't feel like to this point it's been told all that great.
Now, you've done a project called Project Elk.
Yep.
It's a couple years old now.
Correct.
And you're in the middle of doing one called Project Mule Deer. Tell us about Project Mule Deer.
So Project Mule Deer is a film that I partnered with the Mule Deer Foundation with 2 years ago. And the mission behind that was to, really tell the story of why we love mule deer. What is so special about the icon of the West, and why does this room get filled with hundreds of thousands of people to come support this animal? We know it in this room, but a lot of people outside the 4 to 8% or whatever of hunters in this country don't understand that. And so we just felt like it was time to really tell the story of the mule deer.
And so you're doing a documentary type of film.
Yes.
I mean, this has taken you 2 years. I mean, anymore, you see things being produced almost overnight. It's really encouraging to understand that you're doing your work, your homework on this. You're going out and getting what you need to tell this story.
And we've been rolling out short clips on the Mule Deer Foundation website, and they're fantastic. But that's just the start. Yeah,
exactly. That was the tip of the iceberg of where we're all going with this project, and that's really it. The ultimate goal of this is to produce a 1-hour documentary that will come on Outdoor Channel this September. That really will just show, what we're up against as a hunting culture. What are the mule deer up against for the future? What do they have to deal with? What do we have to deal with as hunters and as society, and how are those overlap into the future for the best that we can do as sportsmen for the mule deer, for keeping their habitat open, for keeping connection of these lands together. The reason that we've lost this battle, in my opinion, for so long is because we are a proud people. We don't like to brag. We like our work to be recognized because we bust our backs at what we do, and we want that to just shine through in the end. And the problem is the opposition doesn't think that way. They love to, blow the horn at situations and get attention on it. And we've sat back too long thinking people would recognize what we've done, and we've lost ground because of it. And now Project Mule Deer, Project Elk, all of us here in this room are trying to rally to do a better job of showing what hunters do for this wildlife.
So what you're saying is we got to promote ourselves better.
Yes, I think so.
And we have to promote it in a way that folks think that we're not just out there bloodthirsty savages, taking animals' lives because we get a thrill out of it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We have to prove what makes hunters relevant in today's world. Why should we be a thing? And that was like our conversation we had earlier about where the funding comes from this wildlife. I mean, we as hunters are very proud that we pay for everything that's done out there. All the work with wildlife and habitat is because of us, and we are proud. And would it be nice to get other dollars in to help us with these fights? It would, but I think that there's a fine balance there of keeping us relevant as hunters and what our role is in society. And if we all of a sudden aren't paying for all that wildlife, what is our role then? How do we stay relevant with the people outside?
So you're going to be telling this story about the things we need to be concerned about. Are you going to tell us what we need to be doing too? Is this going to be happening in first person, or is this? Give us a feel what you want someone that watches Project Mule Deer to come away with. What do you want to inspire them to do?
What I would like people to walk away from Project Elk with is just
Project Mule Deer.
Project Mule Deer.
Project
Hey,
Elk's been out
you're
for a
doing
while.
the same thing for elk, man.
Yep.
That's a great thing. So,
no, when they walk away from Project Mule Deer, I just want it to be a call to action. I feel like there's so many people that love the great outdoors. There's so many people that love to go see mule deer out there, but even hunters, at the end of the day, the amount of hunters who are willing to go out and volunteer their time or willing to volunteer $35 a year to be a member of the Mule Deer Foundation, I want it to be a call to action and say, what are you doing to leave this better than you found it? What are you doing to ensure that your kids can enjoy the natural world the way we've been able to enjoy it? And I want it to not only educate hunters to make sure we understand our role and how to move forward better, but to also educate non-hunters in our role and what we do. But really what I would like people to walk away from is really to get the sense that we aren't doing enough. There isn't a single person that's doing enough to keep this together for the future.
Inspire us to action.
Yeah.
now I know that you love to get out and hunt mule deer along with a lot of other things. What are some of the things you've seen change, that you feel that we need to be addressing? What's your favorite way to hunt? And, give us a little bit about, something that sticks in your mind about all this that you want to be able to pass along to the people you meet, to your kids, to your grandkids, those things out there that you can't experience unless you're out there doing it.
Yeah, I mean, it's really endless as far as, what I want people to get out of this or what I would want my kids to get out of this. It's, when I go out into the woods, for me, it's a release. I mean, it really is. Like, I can't imagine a world like we spoke about before where you wake up in a room and you go down a hallway to another room and that's the way you exist, from room to room, hallway to hallway, street to street. I can't imagine not having that natural world to connect with as humans. I mean, I feel like if I'm having a bad day, I know that there's national forest out there. I know there's a trailhead. I know there's a mountain. I know there's a big, wide open space. I can go and get away from everything and sit, and I can watch the sunset, and I can reset myself, and I can go back, and I can be a better dad, or I can be a better friend, or I can be a better son or business associate because I have a chance to decompress, and I have a chance to have those moments. I honestly can't imagine not having a place to go to do that.
Well, and what we were talking about earlier is that increasingly we have a society that is disconnected from that. They're in urban centers. They don't have access to the outdoors, or don't maybe necessarily recognize that they do, or can't get out there quickly and easily. So that disconnect, that gulf between people who understand the natural world and those who are living and thriving in a very urban environment, it's growing.
Absolutely. Yeah,
Well, and if you're like me, the older we get, the more we appreciate what we've had up to, and the harder we fight so that, you know, our kids or grandkids, everyone's kids are going to have that same opportunity. Now, being a hunter myself, and, you know, you and I were sharing some stories earlier, oftentimes it's not the kill that leaves the deepest memory with us. It's the experience, the preparation, the little things that happen during a hunt that may or may not be funny or frustrating that you end up coming away with. That, you know, it's not always just the head on the wall or the meat in the freezer. It's that, you know, as you mentioned, refreshing your soul. I call it mountain therapy, to be honest with you. If I don't get enough mountain therapy, I can turn into a bigger bear than I already am.
Is that possible?
So tell us something. Tell us a little anecdote about a hunt where you learned something that really, you know, made you say wow, or opened your eyes, that, you know, just
I got one for you that nobody ever
believes.
Nobody ever believes, and this has to do with mule deer. I was guiding in Montana, and this is still one of the coolest deer I've ever had the chance to be around in my life. We hunted this buck for a while, and I had an older hunter with me, and the stars aligned, and this guy was able to get a shot at this buck. Just complete luck. We weren't even in the right place at the right, I mean, nothing. It's just the stars aligned. And this guy got a shot at this buck that we had known about for years. And he hit this buck, and he didn't make the best shot. He hit him just a little bit low in the shoulder. So he didn't just immediately go down. So when we went to get on this deer's track, there was snow on the ground, but it was just enough snow to cover the open areas, but not underneath where there was like a canopy, a pine tree or something. And I'll never forget, it was just me and Albert was the guy's name, and we were tracking this mule deer, and we followed just one track with blood in it right into under this tree, and the track never came out. And it was a circle of dry ground, 20 yards, not even 20 feet in a circle. And I remember, you know, you just walk into it and you go to the other side assuming the track's just going to come out, and it didn't. And I'm not kidding. It was one track into dry ground and nothing coming out. And I mean, I even looked like 30 feet too far. I looked up the tree because I'm not kidding. This one track in and nothing out. And we sat there and scratched our heads. Like I literally looked in the tree for this deer because I didn't know where else he could have went. And so I just got to thinking, we had went through a patch of thick new growth pine right before we had kind of busted through this little opening to this where it was dry ground. And so I just thought, well, maybe he just backed up in his track or something. I mean, your mind starts doing weird
stuff. He did the
stuff.
old walking the snowshoes backwards trick.
Did.
That you see.
He fully did. And I have witnessed this. This deer, he's a double drop tine, 34-inch wide, one of the coolest deer. He had 10-inch double drops on both sides.
You don't see that very often.
That's an amazing buck.
No, and he went into this and backed in his own tracks up, I would say probably 5 steps total, back into that new growth pine, and then he had bombed over the top of some of those younger new growth, done a big leap up over the top where he didn't even knock the snow off or nothing. And I remember, like, I just saw something that didn't look right, so I took the branches and I pulled them apart and looked through, and there he was bedded, just laying there.
Wow. Oh my gosh.
And we finished it at that deal. But to me, I mean, I've had more people look at me like, yeah, whatever, cool hunting story, dude, but I'll to this day never forget a deer like that in the snow, perfect tracking conditions, how he was able to fool us in his mind was, he knew what he was doing. He knew he was being pursued by predators. He knew the game, and the things that he did to us and how long it stumped us. I will never forget that.
That's an awesome
incredible
story, and it comes back to these aren't dumb animals out there.
No,
they live in this stuff, and So, what's your favorite way to hunt mule deer, Jason? I mean, I know you're a bow hunter like me. Is it spot and stock? Is it water hole hunting? Is it early season, late season? For you, what is, if you had to choose one way to hunt a mule deer, what would it be?
For me, it's just spot and stock during the rut. Of course, in Montana, we are one of the few states that can hunt mule deer during the rut over the counter. So I take advantage of it, and I have since I was 12. And to me, I just love getting out in that Badlands country. I love finding a good overlook, and I will sit there all day with the
binoculars,
spotter.
spotting scope, and a lunch, I guess.
Yeah, and I'll just grid glass. I'll start, if I know I'm in a good area, I'll start at one end and I'll go to the other, and then if I don't see anything, I'll start over. And it's amazing. You get in the breaks or the Badlands country, you think you can see everything,
right.
And you sit there for 5 minutes and it completely changes, and 5 minutes later it's different. And I just love hunting that kind of open Badlands country during the rut. The amount of deer you see, the amount of activity, you'll see bucks on this top of this ridge, and 5 minutes later he's running a doe clear down in this coulee going wide open, and it's just a frenzy, and I love being out in eastern Montana.
I got to hunt actually eastern Montana with my 13-year-old daughter this year during the rut, and I'll tell you what, it was awesome. And what I found as a dad and a hunter, you sort of take for granted when you have to pass that knowledge on to someone who doesn't know how to do it. Where they say, if you want to think you know something, try to teach it to someone else. And spending that time behind quality glass and picking apart every rock and seeing how these animals can just choose a spot to lay that's perfect.
Oh yeah.
But to us, we're not out there every day. We're two-legged animals, therefore it's just an awesome experience. And she ended up shooting, a pretty nice buck and had a great time. And I think I was more proud of her shooting that buck than any animal I've ever caught. And, and that was a new feeling to me as, someone who's now teaching their kids. And, for me, what got to thinking about, did my dad feel the same way? Do my brothers feel the same way when, does everyone feel this way, or are we just so selfish that we think about ourselves?
No, it's passing on the legacy. I mean, we're hunting with our 12-year-old daughter now and seeing it through her eyes, knowing the hard work and not always coming home with anything, but to pass that legacy on, that heritage that we have, that's a big part of what you're talking about with Project Mule Deer and other things. Is this is who we are fundamentally, and to share that experience with somebody else.
Yeah.
And I'm just so happy that there's advocates out there like you that are using the film media to tell these stories the way they need to be told. Nothing against anyone. I grew up in the same watching Marty and all that other stuff too, and I am just so happy that there's someone like you that's taking it upon yourself to put together something quality, working with the Mule Deer Foundation and all the other people that care about this to get that story out there. And we look forward to the release in September. And that's going to be September 2018, correct?
Yes, correct. Yep. We don't have an exact date yet, but it will be mid-September.
That's going to be on the Outdoor Channel.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And it'll be available. I mean, we're going to be doing some film airing, right?
It'll premiere on Outdoor Channel,
right.
But it'll be immediately made available online, one way or the other.
Right.
We haven't figured out the details,
We'll
but it will be
out.
available for viewing. Whether we may charge, we may not. We're not sure yet the direction we want to go, but it will premiere on Outdoor, and then it'll be made available immediately online.
So what's next for you after this is done?
Well, I mean, there's just so many conservation stories to be told.
Continue to beat the drum.
Yeah. And this is where my heart is. I mean, if I can't tell stories like this, I'll, go try to find something else, because this is really where my heart's at. It was never about just seeing myself on TV. It was never about killing bigger deer or proving I was a better hunter. That was never why I had a show. I just did it because I just wanted our story to be told the way I felt as a hunter, and the way that my dad taught me, and the way that we the way that we feel when we're around the campfire and we have a deer in camp. And people don't understand that, and it is nearly impossible to capture if you don't experience it yourself. Even if you've experienced it, it's really hard to capture. So it does mean a lot to me, your guys' support and the things you say about the films. It means a lot because we put a lot of hard work into trying to find that secret ingredient that does,
Well, I think the message for our listeners is out there is conservation depends on us.
Yeah.
The future of this that we do, the mule deer conservation, elk, white-tailed deer, turkeys, depends on people like us getting involved and really pushing hard to make sure it's done right.
Yep.
And that our story is told the right way. And we ought to be the biggest critics on the people that are telling that story the wrong way.
Yep.
And
I agree.
I can't be happier that this is coming out. I think this is going to be a great thing for the Mule Deer Foundation, for Mule Deer, and Jason, for you. We wish you all the best. I know we'll be talking much more in the future after this comes out, but it's getting pretty late here on day one of the expo. We don't want to take up any more of your time, but it's been an honor, and we look forward to that film coming out. Thank you very much.
Thank you for all you do, Jason.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it. Takes a team.
All right, so you want to learn more about mule deer and mule deer conservation, go to muledeer.org.
Yep, and we have those Project Mule Deer teasers, the monthly ones we've been doing for the last year, and we will have information about when Project Mule Deer is going to be coming out. We'll be publicizing that as it moves along.
Yeah, we hope it's as good as the Star Wars premieres, so
Better, in my opinion.
You got nothing to worry about.
I'd much rather watch the premiere of this than I would the premiere of Star Wars.
All right, I'm Steve Belinda.
I'm Jody Stemler.
And we're saying goodnight from the expo, and we'll talk to you next time.
Thank you.
3 years in the making, the Mule Deer Foundation and Jason Matzinger's Project Mule Deer is set to premiere on September 22nd from 7 to 8 p.m. Eastern Time on the Sportsman Channel and on the Outdoor Channel from 8 to 9 p.m. Eastern Time. Through Jason's cinematography, Project Mule Deer captures the iconic mule deer on its journey across the rugged western landscape, from winter to summer range and back again. We encourage you to tune in on September 22nd to learn more about this majestic animal and its incredible annual pilgrimage. Thanks for talking mule deer with Steve Belinda and Jody Stemler. The Mule Deer Foundation is the only conservation group in North America dedicated to restoring, improving, and protecting mule deer and black-tailed deer and their habitat. MDF is a strong voice for hunters in access, wildlife management, and conservation policy issues. To find out more, visit www.muledeer.org and stay tuned for the next episode of Talkin' Mule Deer.